What up, what up? Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. On this show, we talk about Kickstarter, Indiegogo, e-commerce, and really how to smash your goal, right, when it comes to doing crowdfunding online. And that's kind of what I built my entire career on. You know, I've been in this industry since 2012, ever since I wrote a mini econ thesis at George Washington University, comparing the different categories on Kickstarter and doing a logistic regression to see the variables that affect success. And kind of my thesis back in the day, which actually I still talk about a lot, honestly, is how categories on Kickstarter are so different. And at the time, and even now, people act like Kickstarter is this big platform, which it is. And same thing with Indiegogo. And they act like the principles that affect success and the variables that affect success are the same, but it's not true. So you'll hear the episodes on the show, if you go back and you listen, if this is your first time, or if you listen to a couple of others, you'll hear from so many different examples of success stories. And that's my whole job. My job here is to share with you what is working right now, what is blowing up, what should you be thinking about, how can we put your fingers on the pulse so that you understand the tactics that go into a mega raise with Kickstarter. And today's is no example. Like, you know, today I talked with a creator who raised over $300,000 on Kickstarter. Raised this from attracting more than 1,400 backers. And this is for something that so many people out there are like, there's no way that you could build a career around this. And guess what? He is doing it. So these are Plush Lizard Doggo and Xeno Basher replicas. I know, like you hear that and it's like, I can't believe that there's a campaign that did 300K for that, but you will hear exactly what went into today's episode. It's also really freaking cool. Like, go and check it out. It's really interesting. I'm not, bashing or anything like that with the product. I really think it's a very fascinating product and also something that's kind of fun and like you need more of that stuff in your life. So that being said, that's really the premise of the entire show is you're like a fly on the wall and you're just listening and you're downloading this information every single week into your head and you're beginning to take action. It's building your confidence. It's a little bit inspirational. You're getting some good education, good tactics, high quality stuff that you can go out there and you can apply. So first of all, if you haven't yet subscribed to this show, whether on podcast app, on iTunes, or on Spotify, or on YouTube, it would mean so much if you take a second to do that. In addition, I don't know if you know, but I made a move to Miami recently. So I've been living in New York City for many, many years. And now I'm kind of traveling back and forth, honestly, between Miami and New York City. I love New York, honestly, so I'm never going to fully leave. But, moving to Miami and the scene here is exploding. There's so much cool stuff that's going on when it comes to tech startups and technology and cryptocurrency and crowdfunding, even equity crowdfunding in general also is really blowing up here. So it's super cool. But one of the things is like, I will run into so many people who still don't know about Kickstarter and still don't know about the principles that go into a good campaign. So it just got me thinking that I think we need more free resources out there. So I have 2 free links that I'm going to share with you today. And then at the end, if you're interested in kind of investing a little bit more time into understanding this process, I will share a link with you then. And we'll get into the episode in just a second. So first of all, first link, if you want to learn more about the basics, the ins and outs of how to run one of these campaigns, sort of the nuts and bolts, as I would say, and you're really just a beginner and like you really have no idea where you're getting started, you should check out the link I'm about to mention because it's a free course that will walk you through this to entirety. So go and check out the link, crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. Okay. That link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. Again, that link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. You can go there, enter your name and email. You'll begin getting some information from me, just kind of warming you up to how do you do this? Is this even something you want to pursue? What do you need if you want to do one of these campaigns? All those kinds of basic questions. It's really bite-sized. So it will happen over a number of weeks. We'll begin to get you more accustomed to this. If you're one of those people that's like, you know what? I don't want to waste time. Like, I just want to find out all that information now. I put together a workshop for you, which is an intensive hour-long class that goes into what you really got to do now, today, if you want to be successful with Kickstarter or Indiegogo. And also some of the hacks that I figured out along the way. Even if you don't have a big budget, even if you don't necessarily have a huge audience, you don't even have a follower base, these techniques will work to get you funding. Go and check this out at crowdcrux.com/masterclass. Again, that link is crowdcrux.com/masterclass, completely free. Go and check it out at crowdcrux.com/masterclass. Hope you enjoy that, man. Let's get into today's episode and let's learn how this creator was able to raise over $300,000 for this campaign, and it's coming up right after this. If you're worried about the fulfillment and shipping part of your Kickstarter campaign when it comes to getting out all those perks and rewards to your backers, rest assured I've put together a complete Kickstarter fulfillment and shipping checklist for you and it's free. This is sponsored by the folks at Fulfill Right, and they thought that you should have this checklist as part of your arsenal going into a crowdfunding campaign. If you want to get instant access to this checklist and it's free, you can go to fulfillright.com/checklist. Again, that is fulfillrite.com/checklist. Fulfillright.com/checklist. Just go to that link and you can download it immediately. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. And today we're speaking with a creator who's managed to raise over 300,000 Canadian dollars for their Kickstarter campaign, over 1,400 backers for Satisfactory, Plush, Lizard Doggo, and Xeno Basher replicas. Really cool, interesting project. And we got the creator here today to talk a bit about it. David, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Definitely, man. So this is definitely a really interesting project. You could describe for the listeners who can't see it, sort of what are you guys doing here and what's the product about?
Sure thing. So my name's David Lefrank. I run a little website called Heroic Replicas. We specialize in making replicas true to form for collectors and for cosplayers. And I fell in love with this game, Satisfactory. It's a first-person factory building video game. And in this game, there's wildlife creatures. There's some hostilities. There's some native life forms that you have to deal with while you're building your factory and gathering your resources. So on a whim, I decided to model up one of the main melee weapons, which is called the Xeno Basher. I showed it to the community managers of the game. My original plan was to make a small batch of about 8 or so, and then ask them for a limited licensing agreement so I could sell them on my site. So I got in touch with the CEO of the company. We had a couple discussions about what we wanted to do and how to move forward. I finished the design a bunch of months later after I had a signed contract to start, like an exploratory contract to sell these replicas. And in the meantime, while I was developing that, I also developed a handful of other products, including plushes and keychains.
Busy man.
Yeah. It was good timing too, because like I was at a time where it's like, okay, I have the replica business, I want to grow it, and I have two different avenues. One is to take on licensed replicas, and the other is to do a little bit more of the manufacturing in house. Up to that point, I was outsourcing a couple of the parts, and I bought a CNC machine so that I could produce more parts and more intricate parts. But the CNC machine ended up being a couple months, so the timing was really good that I got the prototypes for these in and had them assembled and sent them off. And everything that I showed them, they approved, which was incredible.
Very cool. Very cool. How long have you been doing Heroic Replica?
Oh, about 10 years. It's been part-time and full-time alongside a regular full-time engineering job. I started off with just making a couple Legend of Zelda Master Swords, and my skills and my craft had grown. Like I started with just regular structural steel that had been grinded and painted and resin cast hilts. Like they look okay, but they're not as good as what I can do now, because now we've pivoted to making things out of pure metal because there was demand. And if you are known as the guy who makes a good Master Sword, then people are going to be like, oh, can you make this other thing from Zelda? So about half of my designs are from Legend of Zelda.
And why do you think you're so passionate about that? I mean, that's obviously super niche, but obviously gaming community is super huge. Why are you so passionate about this?
I love video games. I mean, I'm a video game guy. If I'm going to make something, I want to make sure that you're completely nailing every aspect of it. And if there's something that I don't know, I want to seek it out. Like, for example, I was trying to do a design for Klingon Batleth. That's the Klingon blade for, and I wanted to know if there was some official script or some official documentation, maybe on a screen somewhere, about what it's made out of and what the size is. So I posted on a Star Trek forum. I'm like, I'm making a Batleth. Here's my shape. What do you guys think of it? And they're like, the shape looks good. And here is a quote of Jadzia Dax on Deep Space Nine, summoning one on the holodeck. And it's this long and it's this weight. And then I was able to adjust the thickness of the blade so that I matched that like to the ounce.
That is so cool, man. I mean, also, doing the store over the years, is this the first time you've done a Kickstarter? Have you done them before?
Nope. This is a first time for a Kickstarter.
Okay. And in terms of that, like, what really got you thinking in that line of process and doing a campaign like this on this platform? Why not just continue releasing new products on your site?
Well, to be able to grow the business, I need to pivot away from one-off replicas and do licensed replicas. Like, it's fine for me to make it for collectors, one or two Master Swords here or there, but if I were to get a letter from Nintendo to say, "Hey, you should stop doing that," then I would need to stop doing that right
Mm.
away. So this was always been part of the plan, is that you build the portfolio so that you can show off your work, and then once you get to the point where companies can hire you, or professional cosplayers who are working for companies can hire you, then
And how long were you working on this specific project? From just kind of coming up with the idea and then, putting together and doing all the elements when it comes to the campaign?
I think I finished the model like December. I had the contract in March, and then developing the plushes was like over 2 or 3 months back and forth with China. I actually commissioned 3 different plush company to help me develop the prototype, and then the one that did the best job is the one that we went with.
And for you, are you kind of like in the dark and stealth mode, when you're working on this, or are you also sharing bits of what you're doing with the community?
If it's relevant, if it will help me build a following, then I'll share it. I have a whole folder full of defects and really gnarly looking things of all different shapes that I want to share at some point. But I'm keeping it close to the vest right now because it's important that people see your best work, because when you get somebody's attention, you might only have 5 or 10 seconds,
Mm,
and if you're sharing something that doesn't look right, even if you're saying, "Hey, this is a thing that doesn't look right, look how weird it looks," people might interpret that as, "Oh, why is he making a thing that doesn't look right?"
yeah, yeah, understood. So, I mean, you've always done a really great job when it comes to launching this campaign, getting funding. I mean, 10x of your goal. Did you
Mhm.
expect that to happen? Was that like in the works, a plan? Was that kind of out of left field? How does that compare with your own store and
No,
such?
my expectation was in that mark, about a quarter million Canadian was what I was aiming for. I did the math. So the objective of this Kickstarter isn't just to satisfy the backers; it's to launch a store. It's to build enough inventory, because for every backer that backs a project sight unseen and will happily wait 6 to 8 months for a product, there's probably 5 or 10 times as many people who would love to just buy it for that same price from storefront and then receive it the next week. So I knew that there was potential to sell in the numbers of thousands of each of these items, specifically the smaller ones. The replicas would be a couple dozen at most, and then from that we get the capital so that we can get full shipping containers, so that we can pay for full shipping them across, because I know the prices for that have blown way out of
Yeah,
proportion.
it's insane. Jeez. So I mean, that's really interesting in the way that you've been thinking as an engineer and kind of engineering the launch, right? How did you
Mhm.
get so precise with being able to hit your goal? Because I think most people either will overestimate or underestimate. How did you get?
If you can be anything, be born lucky, I guess. And then so having the technical background means that I could impress the license holder. And Satisfactory and Coffee Stain Studios are unique in that they have a exceptionally fantastic community managerial team, and how well they communicate with their community. They have huge updates that are completely game changing for their game that's in early access now every couple months. Like, the game's not 1.0 yet, and they sold a number of units in the 1 or 2 million range on both Epic's Game Store and Steam.
So basically, I mean, number one, obviously having that credibility is awesome, and you had that pre-existing tribe. It sounds like from doing your site from over 10 years here.
Yeah.
How
Well,
did
the
you?
yeah, the really, really important thing here was to make sure that I had official messaging, because looking at my graph, there was one spike, which was there was like an announcement stream that was very heavily anticipated for update 5, that was adding a bunch of really neat features, and there was very heavily teased that there were going to be a number of new significant features that weren't announced at that point. So it was a live stream with like 10,000 people, and then during that live stream, they were doing like a variety show, interviewing different things. And then they dropped the trailer that they composed, which is the
Okay,
main
so this was like
trailer
an
on the
influencer,
site.
or
No, it was the community managers for the game itself.
got it,
And
understood. And they
yeah,
were doing that on YouTube, or where were they doing the live stream?
they were doing the live stream on YouTube and on Twitch. So it was an audience of 10,000 for that thing. And that's how it jumped from, like, I think I had like $200 after the first 3 days. And then it jumped up to like
That's so cool.
$150,000. And that's the really big key to the success of this, is that it was an existing product, an existing brand that had an audience that was really, really hyped up for the upcoming update. People wanted a plush for a very, very long time, and they kept on saying, yeah, we're looking into it. We made plushes for our previous games like a Goat Simulator, and I was super lucky to be able to show my prototype, get it approved. They liked what I was doing. I assured them that I could deliver the goods faster than their current suppliers could, because that was the quotes that I was getting, and then sent them the prototypes. Everything got approved after a change or two. And then, so the first big spike was that initial update stream. And then the second big push was when they took that exact same video, that 3-minute video, and put it on their YouTube
How did
channel
that
3
feel?
days later.
I mean, just getting that massive influx of people and that kind of like an instant validation.
Yeah,
almost.
it's addictive. To see the number just keep on going up, it's completely addictive. Like, it was my plan to make this happen was to hire my brother in January. He's a very skilled carpenter, and he's been installing doors and windows for the past like 15, 20 years. And I'm really happy to have him on board because he's just as nerdy as I am. Like, he's a little bit of an older generation, so he's more into like Back to the Future and Ghostbusters when I was into like Lego and Mario. But anything that's nerdy that he knows there's a following of, he's right there to make sure that it's right. And I really like that.
What did that mean for you when all of a sudden you have all these people checking out the project and supporting it and really becoming a part of your community there?
It meant that I need to make sure that I have the math right, because it's really, really easy to peel off another $100,000 to pay for the next thing. And you only have so many of those to go. So it's because the number is a little deceptive, because it's like, okay, so it's 307,000 Canadian. How much is that in American? And then how much is that Kickstarter taken off? It's about 10%. And then you have to peel off, okay, who's not paying, or whose credit card didn't quite make it through. And that looks to be about $20,000. And then it's like, okay, if I pay for the production, pay for shipping not only to the 3 third-party logistics, but from them to the individuals. And then I have to worry about the fringe cases where the third-party logistics can't handle. And then I have to worry about what the price of the shipping container is going to be. Like, it's a constant update of how far can I push building up an inventory without running out of money and then having to take out a little bit of my line of credit to be able to push the rest of it through.
Yeah, so it's kind of like balancing almost the resources that you have and what you can do with those.
Yeah. When I started this, the $30,000 was to pay for testing for safety so I can get my CE mark and all that good stuff, and for one shipping container to make it to the States. And then anything else beyond that, I'd have to just figure out. So the amount that we've raised now, I don't have to dip into my line of credit so much, because it was going to be completely funded by myself. I like the actual production of
Got
the
it.
goods. So now the plan is to have 2 shipping containers go to the States and 1 go to the EU. And that's a huge thing, because the EU community for Satisfactory is very significant.
One of the big points you took away was that you need to be willing to adapt and also know your audience. Why did you include that? Why do you think adaptability is important? And what made you say
Well,
that?
I had the individual slugs. So the main plushie, there's 2 different sizes. One is a 16-inch long, and the other one is a 42-inch jumbo plushie that comes with its stuffing, vacuum packed. It comes in a box, and it comes with a couple accessories so that you're adding a little bit more value to your package. So the 3 accessories are a pale berry, which is a fruit you find on the planet that you can feed to the lizard doggo, and you can also eat yourself to restore some health. There's a uranium waste container, which is kind of a meme of the game, is that sometimes when you're when you're petting your lizard doggo and he's tame because you fed him enough food, he'll bring you a random item. And the idea for there is for him to give you a power slug, because that helps you make your factories more efficient. But sometimes he'll give you a waste container, and that, if you hold on to it for like 20 seconds, it will kill you because you'll be irradiated. So the meme is that Lizard Doggo is like super docile and cute, and he's completely innocent, but he's still going to hand you this completely deadly thing. And the third item is the power slug itself. Now, in the game, there are 3 different tiers of power slug that were green and yellow and purple. But the thing is that on that same day when that first trailer was announced and then the new update dropped, they changed all the green slugs to blue. And I learned when everybody else learned. So I'm like, okay, we're doing green slugs. They're going to be blue. Some people are going to want the blue. A bunch of people are still going to want the green. How do I make this happen? So instead of it just being everyone comes with a green one, it's now everyone comes with a random between blue, yellow, and purple. And then Green is a bonus Kickstarter exclusive that you can add on. And that also became the stretch goal. So that if we reached like 500,000, then everybody who ordered a 42-inch would get one for free. So we didn't
Interesting.
reach quite that number. And that was a completely achievable stretch goal because it's something that if you have to order like an extra 1,000 of them, then you can get a little bit of a
Yeah,
stretch
yeah.
goals.
That's very surprising. If you have a video going out, you don't know that you have to have that color, right, a product, and then yeah, this definitely requires
Hmm.
adaptation. So, one of the other things that, you mentioned is this idea of working with influencers. I think that's becoming more and more popular and something that's kind of complicated and a lot of people don't understand, right?
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on working with influencers in the ways that you have? And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, getting it in front of the right audience is absolutely perfect because in my example here, that second big jump was because of the YouTube video that just described the product, and it has a very very strong call to action at the very end of it, where it's like rapid fire questions, and the answer to every question is click the link, and it's done in a comedic way, but people are actually clicking the link, and that's what you want. So the idea is that that video only got like 50 or 60,000 views, and almost any other video on this topic from them would get like 300,000. And some larger creators that make comedy or build videos about this game regular get like 300,000 to a million views. So if I was able to attach that message to more views, then I think it would have really knocked it out of the park. And we have plans for that when we're actually launching a store.
Do you have any thoughts on the process of reaching out to these creators? Is it really just as simple as sending an email or sending an Instagram message? How are you connecting
Well,
in the
I
in the
sent out the
community?
emails to a number of different creators, and they only got back to me when they knew that it was official because the community managers also sent out an email a week later saying, "This guy is working for us. Please give him some time." And then it became a mix between who I could just send samples to, who I would want to negotiate a paid thing. There's a YouTuber out there called Stupendium. He makes
Mhm.
songs on YouTube. He's exceptionally talented, and I really want him to make a song. But of course, that has a huge lead time. It's like you want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
give him like 4 or 5 months so that he can really nail it down and find his spot. So between me knowing that I'm going to do a Kickstarter and the Kickstarter launching was like 60 days, which means
Mm,
that doing a paid deal really wasn't in the cards. And of course, thinking that I might actually only raise like 60,000, I can't budget however many thousands it'll take for that kind of a thing. So the most I could offer would be like a percentage, and nobody wants a percentage of a Kickstarter because if it fails, then come on,
yeah, yeah, just
like
kind of doesn't work.
a
Yeah.
0% or 10% of zero is zero. Like,
Yeah. So it sounds like you just got to have kind of that sort of leeway and
mhm.
also making sure you're communicating a lot and, being able to kind of fit in a slot for them.
Yeah. If you're going to make a Kickstarter, try making one with a built-in of a game that's been in development for half a decade, that has a huge following and constant updates. Yeah. I like my Kickstarter. I was cheating the whole time because the community managers, the repertoire they have with their people, how much they listen, it was all built in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, definitely helps when it comes to that. Do you have any other advice on in terms of the page? Like one of the things that's kind of interesting to me is that you actually have a pretty standard page with this campaign. A lot of other campaigns we see like super, flowerful graphics and stuff when it comes to board games and card games. Doesn't seem like that was actually needed as much with
Yep.
yours, but it still looks great.
Yeah, I wanted to keep it very, very simple. I wanted to make sure it was just the facts. You got the pictures, you get a timeline at the bottom, and I don't want to oversell anything. And I just want to make sure that if I state a fact, that I know that I can satisfy it. And the advice, of course, for stretch goals is that you don't make your stretch goals right on launch. You make them after launch happens. If you know that if you know that you've successfully created buzz before stretch goals, then you only add stretch goals after the fact.
Did you think about doing anything in terms of way of like having your own Discord group or your own community? Or I'm not sure if you also did that.
Uh, Satisfactory has its own official Discord. I had the suggestion that we just open up a channel in that, but that just never happened. I just pop in every once in a while and say, "Hey, how's it going?" But all the
Okay.
messaging is on the Kickstarter page, and I kind of like that because it means that if somebody has a question, then everybody can look at the answer.
And did you do any other kind of like paid marketing, like Facebook ads or anything along those lines with this one?
I looked into Google Ads so that I could get a couple more views on the official YouTube channel, the announcement video for that, but I couldn't quite justify the CPM on it.
Makes
So
sense.
I dropped a couple $100 on that and then abandoned it because I don't think I needed it.
How would you say this experience doing this project compares with the other product launches you've done on your own site? Is it more rewarding? Was it more stressful? Do you like it more or less? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's stressful. I think it's exciting that I'm working towards a larger goal, and that larger goal is having a established store where almost every step of it is taken care of by other people. Doing the one-off commissions, I have to talk to the person, I have to establish what the protocols are, and then do an estimated date and send out the invoice manually and all that stuff. But if I have an inventory of this one product and everybody knows exactly what it is, they can add it to their cart and then it gets shipped out and I don't even have to look at it. And that's exceptionally exciting for me. I really want to do more of that.
Is that kind of the future vision here, is transitioning from your current job in order to do this in that kind of systematic way?
Yep.
Is that what you're hoping to do? Or
Yeah. If I'm developing products, that's kind of what I want to give my job title to be, is product developer. So that way I'm making small things and big things, and then I'm handing them off to, for example, my brother or a local machinist to do the machining work and the assembly work and getting that orders out, or handing the smaller things to somewhere in China so that they can ship huge boxes of stuff to create an inventory so that can sell.
Cool. So I just got one or two more questions for you. I mean, one of them is, in your own life, I imagine you get interesting remarks when you talk about, your career here and kind of what you're doing. How do people react when they learn that you've done this massive campaign and so many people around the world are buying this? How do they react to that?
I was talking to my neighbor, and she doesn't know anything about video games and stuff like that. And she's trying to comprehend what this whole thing is about. And she's thinking, so it's like people are using it to act out the game. And I'm like, no, it's just mascots from the game, and we're making plushed animals for them. And it's a thing that people like, and that's cool. And because everybody has something that they like, and everybody has something that they know not everybody knows about, and they can either share that with whoever they want, or they can just enjoy it by themselves.
Do you find that a lot of people in Toronto, in Canada, is crowdfunding mainstream there? Is it something that most people know about Kickstarter, or is this something that's kind of still, having market penetration kind of there?
I don't know of any Canadians who have run a Kickstarter, but actually there was Loading Ready Run that did one that was like a decade ago.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was just kind of curious there. Cool, man. So this is super exciting. Where can people go, first of all, to learn more about your project and also in the future?
Direct link to the project is lizarddoggo.com. That's LIZARDDOGGO.com. We also reserve the site lizarddoggo.com. So if you forget to put in 2 Ds, you can just put in the 1 D between lizard and doggo, and it'll lead you to the exact same place. So in a number of months, we're going to be converting that redirect into a full-on storefront, and that's where we're going to do the item fulfillment so that people can add on things to their order, because the last stretch goal got met. So some of the other accessories you can add onto your order, and when that becomes a full order, if you want a lizard doggo or a xenobasher or a xenozapper or some keychains or some other neat cool stuff that's coming up, you go to there and you can just order them outright.
And my final question for you is, speaking to the individual right now who's just kind of starting their project, or just kind of interested in maybe even doing their own thing, and they're hearing your story and they're like, wow, this guy can do this, niche store, and he's been doing it for 10 years and launched his campaign and get a bunch of success and is on his way to maybe doing this full time. What would you say to that individual? It could be a final tip, it could be a word of encouragement, it could be something you wish you did differently, it could be anything along those lines.
Build out your portfolio, take really, really nice pictures, make sure that your documentation is proper, and then see what you can do for somebody else. See what larger scale project you can do where you're having other people help you out, because nobody can do it alone.
Well said. Thank you, man, so much for coming on the show. I look forward to your next couple of projects here, and I love what your work and what you're doing, and can't wait to see some more stuff that you're coming out with.
Great. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Thank you so much. I value your time. I know that you are a busy individual, and honestly, just be amazing if you could take a second to, if you're listening to this on YouTube, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel. You're listening on iTunes, to subscribe there, or on Spotify. So that being said, I've been doing a lot of exploring in Miami, and again, the scene here is really interesting. I feel like almost like a renaissance is going on. I've been meeting tons of investors. I've been meeting tons of finance people who are relocating from different areas, a lot of technology people, big into cryptocurrency, massive with equity crowdfunding, right? All this new stuff is happening here in Miami, and it is really fascinating. So that's just kind of what I've been up to recently. Again, I'm always traveling back to New York, so it's kind of like moving in between the two cities there. But I hope that you've been doing well and you've been paying attention, you've been taking some action here. If you're ready to take that next step and you really just want to kind of get it from the source, I've obviously written the book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula. I've also put together many courses on this subject, as well as many other books with crowdfunding. If you really just want to get it from the source, you can book a one-on-one intensive coaching call with me. And we can kind of tailor this entire thing, this entire process to you personally. And why is that so important? It's so important because there's so many different types of products out there and you're trying to achieve different things. So what I try to do with the show is to give you a plethora, you like that word? That's a good vocab word, a plethora of many different styles of creators, many different types of products, many different categories. However, at the same time, I'm not perfect. And, I don't necessarily know all the things that you're trying to accomplish specifically. So if you want to book a one-on-one coaching call with me, here's the link to do that. And we can talk about your project. We can get into the nitty-gritty of what you got to do to be successful. We can even talk about if I can help you in any kind of way to be successful. And there's a lot of, honestly, not many projects that I can help with these days. But if I do feel like you have a really cool something on your hands and you're getting some great UGC, which is like people who are saying, this is awesome and you got to launch this thing, there might be some potential there. So go and check out this link at crowdcrux.com/coaching. Again, that link is crowdcrux.com/coaching, crowdcrux.com/coaching, and you can book a one-on-one call with me and we can get that squared away ASAP. Dude, I love you. Thank you so much for attending today's class. Appreciate it a lot and hope that you have a good week.